Welcome to this explainer. You know, if you've ever been part of a messy project rollout, you know exactly the kind of chaos it brings. Missed deadlines, miscommunication, and a launch that just completely falls flat. Well, today, we're unpacking a highly focused strategy designed to prevent exactly that. It's called the Rock and Roll Module. It's essentially a strict, methodical playbook that takes you from a controlled pilot strategy all the way to a flawless, wide-scale online implementation. We're going to break down exactly how this structured approach works step by step so your next big rollout actually survives contact with the real world. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1, the Rock and Roll Module. 2, mastering project implementation. 3, running the pilot strategy. 4, scaling to wide scale. And 5, evaluating implementation effectiveness.
Section 1, the Rock and Roll Module.
Now, the core mandate of this strategy really comes down to 2 incredibly crucial words: project implementation. This source material completely strips away the fluff. We aren't brainstorming here. We aren't whiteboarding theoreticals or dreaming up the next big idea. No, the ultimate goal is pure, relentless action. This module is entirely dedicated to the complex, honestly sometimes messy reality of taking a finalized plan and making it happen effectively. That heavy focus on execution over ideation, that's the absolute core identity of this entire framework.
Section 2, Mastering Project Implementation.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how we prepare to tackle that massive goal. The structural genius of this text lies in its strict 4-step chronological journey. 1, training. 2, online platform pilot. 3, wide-scale run. And 4, evaluation. Each step is an absolute prerequisite. You literally cannot skip straight to wide-scale execution without first passing through training and that pilot phase. If you try to jump ahead, well, the framework completely breaks down. The strict sequence is the backbone of the entire strategy, designed specifically to catch errors before they compound. So the crucial second step here is the pilot strategy. Based directly on the text, this means running a module in a controlled online platform before a wide-scale release. Think of this as your proving ground. By isolating the project to a controlled online environment, participants can really test the waters and identify friction points. And those friction points, technical glitches, user confusion, inadequate support, those are exactly the things that ruin typical wide-scale rollouts. Catching them early is absolutely non-negotiable.
Section 3, Running the Pilot Strategy.
The text lays out a very specific mandate here. Listen to this part closely. The participants are trained to run the pilot strategy in the online platform. Notice the heavy emphasis on being trained. Running a pilot isn't just some improvised sandbox session where people figure things out on the fly. No way. The participants require active, dedicated preparation. Preparation simply must precede action, ensuring that when they finally hit that online platform, they know the mechanics of the project inside and out.
Let's break that down into 3 core rules. First, participants receive highly specific training. Second, the strategy is executed first as a pilot. No exceptions, no rushing the launch. And third, the testing ground is specifically an online platform. This structured approach shows us exactly how the early stages of the Rock and Roll module operate. It's methodical, it's deliberate, and it leaves absolutely nothing to chance or guesswork.
Now, you might be wondering, why is it so incredibly crucial to start on an online platform first? Well, it's all about mitigating risk. An online platform acts as a contained, measurable sandbox. If the wheels are going to fall off your project, and let's be real, in implementation they almost always do at some point, you want it to happen here, in this low-risk, controlled arena, rather than on the main stage when the whole world is watching. It gives you the grace to fail quietly and fix the problems before the real launch.
Section 4, Scaling to Wide Scale.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because all of this preparation exists for what the text calls the moment before running on a wide scale. Those few words dramatically shift the stakes. Everything we've discussed so far, the intensive training, the controlled online platform, the whole pilot strategy, was just the warm-up. The ultimate intention of the module was never to stay small or safe. It was always to build enough confidence to scale up widely and take on massive implementation.
We are fundamentally shifting from the online platform pilot, which is a controlled testing and focused training area, directly into wide scale, which is broad implementation and post-pilot expansion. It's literally night and day. You master the pilot stage specifically so that you have the hardened data, the team capability, and the absolute confidence to conquer this massive leap in scale. The pilot is really simply the stepping stone that makes wide-scale execution possible without courting disaster. So we have to ask, how do we actually bridge the gap between pilot and wide-scale? How do we cross that threshold safely? Well, the source text strictly sequences these events for a reason. You don't cross that bridge until the training is complete and the online pilot has been successfully navigated. The gap is bridged by adhering flawlessly to the structured implementation plan, letting the data from the pilot dictate when you are truly ready to expand.
Section 5. Evaluating implementation effectiveness.
Okay, so you've trained. You've run the online pilot, and you've launched on a wide scale. But the process isn't over. How do we actually measure the effectiveness? How is success determined once that massive wide-scale launch happens? I mean, how do we know if any of this actually worked in the real world?
So the crucial point is right here. The text makes a core demand that we must evaluate the effectiveness of the implementation. The module doesn't accept implementations simply for the sake of checking a box, right? It demands a rigorous, data-driven look backward. You absolutely must look at the wide-scale run and brutally measure whether it achieved its intended goals. To put that into perspective, a rigorous evaluation might show that 80% of your rollout was confirmed effective, while identifying 20% that requires immediate iteration. It's not just a simple pass or fail, it's a deep diagnostic. You're looking at the exact mechanics of what worked during the wide-scale rollout and what needs to be tightened up for the next time around. This really reinforces the deeply analytical side of the entire strategy. And that brings us to the golden rule of the whole shebang. Evaluation is conducted to evaluate the effectiveness of the implementation. This brings the entire strategy full circle right into a continuous closed-loop system of accountability. Absolutely no wide-scale rollout goes unmeasured. You plan, you pilot, you implement, and then you fiercely evaluate that implementation to start the cycle all over again.
So I want to leave you with this. Think about your own professional challenges and ask yourself, when you launch your next wide-scale project, will your online pilot be strong enough to pass the final evaluation? The Rock and Roll module shows us that success at scale is never an accident. It's the result of strict sequencing, an honest online proving ground, and rigorous measurement. I really hope this deep dive into the details of these topics has given you a fresh perspective on structuring your own implementations. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep learning.